Hello and welcome to First Look FSU Baseball. I'm your host, Tom Block. You know, it's been a long and unseasonably cold winter in North Florida, but nothing warms the hearts of Seminole fans like the return of the ultimate symbol of summer, baseball, to the green grass here at Mike Martin Field and Dick Howser Stadium. A year ago, the Seminoles did not achieve their ultimate goal of making it to the College World Series, coming this close from getting back out there. But this year, they return a loaded deck. It is a stacked lineup. A lot of experience returns, both in terms of everyday players and pitchers. And oh, by the way, there's a certain Heisman Trophy winner that will don the baseball uni this year for the Noles, too. Coming up, we'll preview the 2014 Seminoles. We'll go position by position, and we'll sit down and have a conversation with legendary head coach Mike Martin as he gets set for his 35th year at the helm here at FSU. It's all straight ahead. Stay with me right now on First Look FSU Baseball.
It's been over 8 months since the Seminoles have played a game that matters, and as the calendar flips over to February, they can barely contain the anticipation of opening day.
I can't wait. I know nobody else can wait either. It's been a long time. You know, ever since that super regional loss, we've been ready to get back out there, and I think this is going to be one of our best years to date. So we're all really excited.
You know, we feel really good where we're at. And, you know, baseball approaches in any kid's life, they're just itching to get out there and play.
It may be bad news for vendors, but fans won't need to consult their programs much this season when the Seminoles take the field. With familiar faces up and down the roster, experience is the defining characteristic of 2014 FSU baseball.
We have guys all over the field that have played multiple positions, multiple games, so it's going to help us a lot to have that experience. They've been in certain situations, so it'll help us a lot.
I think since I've been here, we haven't really had this much experience coming back. So, I mean, we lost a couple key guys. You know, Scott Seitz had a great year last year. Steve is obviously a huge loss, but I think we got guys that can step in and really fill that role. And yeah, I think the experience is going to be big for us.
You know, with Gonza being here for 5 years, he's had a lot of experience. You know, Gage Smith, same amount of years. But those guys, you know, they mean a lot to our ball club, and especially when it gets to, you know, later in the season where more pressure, it's just easier to come to those guys and for them to speak and allow us to relax. And, you know, they've been there before, and just to get some weight off our shoulders.
The numbers tell how veteran-rich the Seminoles are. Of the 9 position players and designated hitter, the team returns players that accounted for 65% of the starts in 2013, with returnees accounting for over 60% of RBIs as well. In particular, the infield boasts a wealth of experience.
So everyone knows what they're doing, with Jose being there for the second year, Sansone for his second year there, John for his second year. You know, there's a lot of experience there. They've had their ups and downs, and they pretty much understand what it is to be even keel.
With the return of John Nagowski, John Sansone, and Jose Brizuela, first, second, and third base will be manned by players who held down those spots last year. And while held to just 5 games in 2013 because of hip surgery, shortstop Justin Gonzalez will be back as team captain in his 5th season in a Seminole uniform.
I do feel leadership, but there's a lot more leaders on this team than people take notice. That I'm not the only one, even though I have a C on my chest. Gage is a leader, Brett's a leader, DJ, John Nagowski, even some of the new faces on the team are going to lead early on too. The days can get monotonous when you got guys that, you know, it's safe to say that I'm one of the oldest guys on the team, and when you're around an 18-year-old who's, you know, just ready to go all the time, it kind of gets you going too. So it's exciting to see those guys accept those roles that they've been given.
All is not said around the diamond, however. The biggest preseason competition revolves around the catching position. Stephen McGee was an Ironman behind the plate last season for the Seminoles, playing in all 62 games and starting all but 2 of them. And while the dependable backstop has moved on to the professional ranks, there is a talented quartet who are in the mix to don the catcher's gear for Coach Mike Martin's squad.
I mean, obviously, it's hard to replace the Steve McGee, but we've got 4 very capable catchers back there. And Lee Howard, Danny De La Calle, Gage West, Ladson Montgomery. I'd be comfortable with any of them back there. So, it's definitely, I'd say that's the biggest battle going on right now. But like I said, we'll be good with any 4 of us.
These guys we have in here, these 4 guys are all great guys, great catchers, and they work their butts off during practice. And 4 is quite the challenge. There's usually not that many catchers to compete with, maybe usually 2 or 3, but they all have that itching to get that starting role, and they've all put in all their sweat and tears and all that stuff to get to where they are at now. And it's just who produces and what the coaches feel like.
In the outfield, the lineup isn't quite as set, but the core of outfielders boast just as much experience as their teammates in the infield, with one added dimension: speed.
We're going to have a very fast outfield, I can tell you that. We're not the coaches haven't told anyone where they're playing yet, but I mean, no matter where anyone plays, we're going to have fast guys everywhere. We have guys like me, Brett Knief, Josh Delph, Matt Mulroy, Ben DeLuzio. We got guys all over the field that can just run for days and cover a lot of ground, so that's going to be a really strong point for us.
And just like the everyday lineup receives a boost from the return from injury of Justin Gonzalez, the pitching staff welcomes back former freshman All-American Mike Compton, who missed all of 2013 with Tommy John surgery. It was a tough road back for both veteran Seminoles.
It was definitely physical, but I'd say more so mentally because of the fact that it felt like rock bottom. There were moments where I felt like I would never be back to where I am today, and I definitely had to get through those times. They were very difficult.
The physical process, what you're getting yourself into once the surgery has taken place. That it's going to be 5 days a week of rehab, but then after that, it's mentally knowing you're not going to be throwing a baseball for 4 to 5 months, and with the little progress that's going on each and every day, it can definitely take a toll on the mental state.
We were here together the whole summer, the majority of the summer. So when we were working together, we would always kind of compete with each other a little bit. I'd ask him where he is, and I told him that I'm going to be back quicker than he is, and I did beat him. So if you ask him about that, he'll tell you.
Those 4 months seem like they take forever, and then once you pick up a baseball again and the trainer tells you, hey, you can throw the ball, it's a great feeling.
Well, obviously with Gonzo being the team captain, it was hard on him, it was hard on the team losing him so early in the season last year. And Compton, obviously a freshman All-American his freshman year, that was a huge blow to us last year. We're excited to have them both back.
Compton's return adds another arm to the mound arsenal. With returning starters Luke Weaver, Brandon Liebrandt, and Peter Miller already in the fold, FSU boasts one of the deepest and most talented staffs in the nation.
We have definitely a lot of veterans coming back. Gage Smith, we got Bryant Holtman, Billy Strode. I mean, they're great guys who can come in and get the job done. We got Luke, Liebrandt. I mean, they're a bunch of great guys who've been there before, know how to get the job done, throw strikes, able to let the defense play their game, and I mean, they know what to do once they get on the mound.
The only people we lost were Scott Seitz and Robbie Coles, and as great as they were, we're going to have more depth than I think we ever had this year. We have a lot of people that are going to get a lot of innings. We're going to be able to spread out those innings more throughout the people. We have a lot of qualified pitchers, and I think experience is going to play a big role in the pitching staff this year.
A premier starting staff is backed by an equally talented and deep bullpen, one that combines experience and an infusion of youth.
Guys have been in there and got their innings, and we had some guys last year, the freshmen, that got some innings in too. So the bullpen's deep, the rotation's deep, and I think pitching's going to be a really, really strong point for our team.
We have a lot of new arms that are going to be really good for us. Guys like Taylor Blatch, the twins. We're going to have Will Zerzai. We're going to have a really good staff.
And the back end of the bullpen is anchored by a closer who is quite familiar with performing under pressure.
Having a guy like Jameis Winston on the team, having won a national championship, a lot of guys look to him because he's already done what we're trying to do. So I'd say the biggest thing that he's brought forth is just to stay loose and just go out there and just do what you got to do to win. And a lot of guys have embraced that. So have I.
Already one of the elite baseball conferences, the ACC is strengthened by the addition of newcomers Notre Dame and Pitt. The 30-game league schedule presents many challenges, and a scheduling quirk has conference foe and perennial rival Miami added to an already daunting non-conference schedule.
In my personal opinion, I feel as though we will be one of the top, if not the top, most competitive conference in the nation. And to play a team like Miami, who's reloaded, NC State, Clemson, who's always good, Virginia, who has a great team, the competition level is going to be at an all-time high, and there's really no days off when we play the schedule that we have. So every weekend's going to be a fun one.
Definitely no cakewalk of a schedule. Right out of the bat, we're playing some of the top teams, even not in their conference. Miami, they switched, and then we got Georgia, and then we start the ACC. They got a bunch of talent. They're, I feel like the best conference, and we're gonna have to be on our A game, but we're ready for it.
With every new season comes a new team with unique characteristics and personality, but for everyone who dons the garnet and gold, the ultimate goal never changes.
Well, for the team first is the national championship. That goal's never going to change. And, I say this every year. Everybody says this every year, but we have a really good chance of doing that this year. The group of guys that we have and the pieces that we have, the new faces that are going to contribute early on, that's something that is very important.
We still have our mission here, and that national title just feels more hungry than ever.
Omaha, there's only 8 teams that make it there, and it's the top 8 teams in America. So, playing a tough schedule, that's gonna just help us and hopefully get us over the top for those final 8 teams and be the #1 team at the end of the year.
Really, I'm just trying to have the best year I can. Just biggest thing for me is winning it all. And if I can go out a national champion, I'll be happy.
Welcome back. I'm joined now by Seminole skipper Mike Martin. 11, it's hard to fathom, but 35 years now for you as you go into it, and you must like what you see in terms of the roster when you look at it from top to bottom. But I know you're always passionate and excited as you start a new year, and I'm sure this campaign's no different.
It isn't, Tom, and I appreciate you saying that, because the day that I'm not excited and really looking forward to getting started, I'll definitely see if I can lower my handicap. But I'm very proud of what the young men have accomplished in the classroom in the first semester. We had an overall 3.008, and that's quite a display of dedication and perseverance, because not everybody started off well in the classroom, but they kept fighting, and that encourages all of us coaches here. But as we approach the year, now is when the so-called fun begins, because we're hoping that our guys got stronger in the off season, and we know that we have a lot of work to do with this outstanding league that we're in.
You've always preached pitching and defense, and so when you look at the 4 guys that you're going to be able to start this year, I don't know what order it'll go, but when you talk about that quartet, that's pretty strong.
Yeah, we're very pleased also with the fact that everybody's familiar with them. The fact that Luke had a very good year and a good summer with the USA team. Brandon pitched well in the Cape. Peter Miller pitched well in the Cape. And we're just always excited, of course, to have Mike Compton back. We lost a lot last year with the loss of Compton.
It's good to have Mike coming back, and you've got a lot of veterans coming back in the everyday lineup too. One of the position battles that's unsettled right now is behind the plate.
How do you expect that to play out? You probably don't know how it will play out, but talk a little bit about who's in the mix there.
I'd have to say that Danny Delacalle is the leading candidate to start for us. Gage West, a freshman, local young man from Lincoln, has looked very good. Ladson Montgomery is a guy that we're counting on to be the backup, but he was hurt the majority of the fall with a bad wrist, and as we tape this, he hurt it again in yesterday's practice, so we're just going to have to see to what extent he's going to be out.
What other questions remain unsettled? When I look at your everyday lineup, I presume you have Nagowski at first and Sansone, and Gonzo is back and Brizuela at third, so those guys have been there and done that. But what other questions are unsettled as you go into the February start of the season?
I think we don't know who's going to play center field yet. We know that DJ Stewart can play center field. DJ is a guy that we are counting on, obviously, to drive in runs for us. We also know that he is a guy that can really, really play left field. He did a great job for us last year, and we'll continue to look at that. If he doesn't play center field, then we'll look at Brett Knief and Ben DeLuzio to battle for that spot. Nick Draganella has played very well out there also, but he can also move around, and we're going to look to have Josh Delph back in right field, but we'll have some competition there also.
Right. What is the ceiling for DJ?
A guy that could become one of those that you talk about for years to come. It's the only way I can describe it. To say he's going to be another J.D. Drew or another Shane Robinson or James Ramsey, the jury is still out. There's 2 years left for him to play. But if the freshman year is any indication, he's above those others right now.
Yeah, he was fun to watch. All right, you're going to get asked this question a million times between now and throughout the course of the season. But for all you've done in your coaching career, I don't know how many Heisman Trophy winning starting quarterbacks that you've coached. So that's a new dynamic for you, and it's a tricky dynamic. I know you have a good relationship with Coach Fisher, but talk a little bit about maybe the thrill of coaching a guy as talented as Jameis Winston, but also, the challenge that goes with that as he's the starting quarterback.
Well, to say that there's no challenge is certainly a lie. But at the same time, it's not a challenge because J-Boo just wants to play baseball. He enjoys being around his teammates. He enjoys the competition. So there is no challenge in that area. I think the challenge is from the outside of trying to be sure we've got him taken care of when we go on trips and when we have days in which the team is exposed to thousands of people, and we want to be sure that he's not having to so-called be overwhelmed with people wanting his time.
Right. What role will he play? I know stopper and closer is one role, but how else does he factor in for
Well,
you?
we're going to use him some in the outfield, too. I mean, obviously, he's an outstanding athlete. But we're going to look at him as a closer. We know we can DH him. His bat's going to be important to us, and so we're just going to start off with him being used as a DH, part-time outfielder, but his main role will be that of a closer.
Did you ever coach against any Heisman winners in your career?
Coached, no. Played once against Roger Staubach. Now, if that doesn't go back, I played against him, but he wasn't very good, to be honest with you. That's what I remember when he was at Navy. He wasn't a bad football player.
All right, yeah, that worked out all right for him. Final thought, Coach. The key to this season for you is what?
We got to be sure that we're patient. We've got a very good baseball team, but we can't start thinking that we're really, really good. There's a lot of things that happen in baseball. If you look at the professional league, National League, American League, wherever, there's a lot of good clubs that if they're not mentally strong, they'll finish fourth. There's a lot of good clubs that are really strong, both mentally and physically, and they'll finish fourth. It's just the way the game is designed. You don't know what's going to happen. I'm still thinking about the what ifs when we played Indiana. I would have loved to have gone to Omaha with the team we had last year. This team is very intelligent. We have great leadership. We're going to battle you all year long. Our goal is to get to the College World Series. If we get to the College World Series, our goal is to win it all. But we know we've got to just stay grounded. We can't look at ourselves as anything other than a blue-collar team, a team that's got to carry their lunch pail to work and get after it on a daily basis.
11, we look forward to it as always. It's always a fun journey. Best of luck to you and the Seminoles this year.
Thank you, Tom. Nice to be with you.
All righty, Seminole skipper Mike Martin will step aside, come back, and finish up right after this. Stay with us. Well, I hope you look forward to the Florida State baseball season. It promises to be another exciting one, as is always the case, as the Noles will once again make a run to the College World Series in Omaha. Thanks for joining me here on First Look FSU Baseball. Remember to follow the Seminoles at any point. You can come on out here to Dick Howser Stadium or log on to Seminoles.com for all the latest news about FSU baseball and all of Seminole athletics. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time right here.